This video serves as a response to a future event retaining to be done by GeekCritic89 and TheLavaBuster. Content to be used and or mentioned is owned by Funimation and respective installments creators. Just because I say the names does not mean you can take me off the air. Mesdames and Messieurs, good evening. Today, I received news of my acquaintance, TheLavaBuster, doing a month-long gauntlet of Studio Gonzo installments. Granted, I know how much he despises this studio, though granted, it's more out of disappointment. The only title he actually does like that came out of that studio is Chrono Crusade. But one of the installments in the trailer is an installment I hold dear to myself, and is my all-time personal favorite. And today, I'm here to give my own insight to this title. That title in question is this: Gankutsuou, the Count on Cristo. How will it fare in my hands? Well, even though it's my all-time favorite anime series, I'm going to do what I can to keep it as biased, as objective as possible. For those who don't know, this anime title that Gonzo pumped out in 2004 and ran until 2005 is a loose adaptation of the classic 19th century novel written by Alexandre Dumas. Emphasis on loosely, because there are quite a few twists that make this more of a retelling than an actual adaptation. In this case, we start off around a third of the way through the book. The setting is in the 51st century, and the Tyler character, the Count of Monte Cristo, is supposedly an alien vampire count who made his fortunes on the frontier. And he's after revenge against several old acquaintances of his, one of them being the man he once thought was his best friend, who framed him for a crime he never committed. And while he rotted and sent him to prison in the Chateau d'If. And if that were the case, the Count did eventually get out, but only with the help of a demon of vengeance that possesses his body, and will continue to further manipulate and control him until his final vengeance is carried out. However, unlike the book, where the story focuses on looking at things through the Count's perspective, Gonzo takes it in the opposite direction. How? They make us look through the series as from the perspective of his main target's son, Albert. A naive 15-year-old kid who pretty much is very kind-hearted, honest, if not a little stupid, and it makes it difficult for me to even relate to the character because even though he's supposed to be our quote-unquote hero, they do a poor job in developing him right out of the gate. Backstory for most of the characters is tacked on near the end of the series. Specifically for the Count, we're not going to get most of his story, his end of the angles, until like episodes 16 through 22 at the earliest and latest respectively. And as for our title character himself, I'll just say he exudes evil in its purest form. What do I mean? Think back to the Asu Otaku of the V2 Brigade's Top 20 Most Deliciously Evil Anime Villains review. She placed the demon that possesses the Count, or demonic spirit in this case, and in the 11th spot. Why? Because, as she put it, he epitomizes what a villain is supposed to possess. Merciless and remorseless evil, and charisma to match it. And that's what the Count exudes. A lot of charisma. Part of this could be due to both his voice actors. In the Japanese, he's done by Joji Nakata, aka Alucard from Hellsing. Or in the English dub, he's done by Jameson Price. Both make the Count come off as more of a presence than the primary antagonist. In some ways, I'd compare him to Johan from Monster, but that's stretching it. The difference between the two is the Count is actively present in the lives of the other characters. And while the other characters are pretty good, I'd have to say I'm not certain why we have to look at this from Albert's perspective as opposed to the Count's. Granted, it would have made this a more faithful adaptation of the book if we looked at it from the Count's point of view, but the Count on Cristo is probably one of the most difficult books to adapt in any form of creative media. There was a British TV special that stayed true to the book, but felt dull and lifeless. A 2002 live-action movie starring Jim Caviezel, or however his last name is pronounced. But that took so many liberties with the source material, it's not the same thing. And then there's this thing. And then there's this one. Art-wise, Gonzo took a different approach to this one. They photoshopped various texture elements into just about everything. Characters' hair, clothing, the background. At times, and this is a hit or miss, but it's an 80-20 ratio leaning towards hit. A lot of the times, it's very stunning and visually appealing. Other times, it's a giant eyesore, especially with Albert's choice of wardrobe. But the thing is, the textures don't move and it looks kind of awkward. Or even when it's plastered on a character. Grant, the CG... Could you give me a minute, Mom? As I was saying, the CG is a little... It doesn't really mesh that well. Oh, it kind of sticks out. But I wouldn't say it's bad on the level of Final Fantasy Unlimited. Or Hellsing TV. But it's nowhere near the quality of Last Exile or Samurai 7, just to put it bluntly. Voice acting, English dub, I was a little disappointed that none of the characters were given a French accent, because with anime with European settings, you'd expect a European accent based on whatever country they're in. I mean, like, shows like Hellsing, Black Butler, D. Greyman somewhat get it right, but not in the case with this one. The Japanese dub does the opening recap in French, and it's quite interesting. Music-wise, it's unique. A lot of classical pieces, the opening and ending themes sung in English by Strangler bassist Jean-Jacques Brunel, no less, and it does tell a story that's pretty faithful to the spirit of the book. All in all, I gotta give this series an 8.5 out of 10. It's not bad, but there are a few niches you'll have to skip through. You'll have to get around when watching it. That's it for me. I'm out. Peace.